This new U200 smart lock from Aqara is insane. It's Aqara's first smart lock with Matter over Thread. It's also the first retrofit smart lock on the market that supports Apple's Home Key. You heard that right, it supports Matter over Thread, it's retrofit and supports Apple Home Key, fingerprints, passcodes. Aqara packed a lot into this lock. We've got a lot to talk about. Let's go. Yo, what's up guys? My name is Shane and this channel is all about helping you build an easy Apple home smart home with new videos and live streams published every week. Big thanks to Aqara for sponsoring today's video and sending me out their new U200 smart lock so I can get an early look at it. I have been using this thing for a couple of months now, so I've had a little bit of time with it. Now there have been some ups and downs. We'll discuss all that here today. I first saw this smart lock earlier in January of this year at CES and I got pretty excited. This lock is particularly interesting to me because it not only supports Matter and connects via Thread, but also supports Home Key. That makes this the first smart lock that I've seen to support Matter over Thread and Home Key. I actually didn't even think that was possible, but they did it. Now, if you're not already aware, Home Key is that awesome feature that lets you unlock your door with a simple tap of your iPhone or Apple Watch. I absolutely love this feature. This is an Apple HomeKit feature, so you will need an Apple Home Hub like a HomePod, a HomePod Mini, or an Apple TV. Now, not all HomeKit locks do support this Home Key feature. Fortunately, all of Aqara's smart locks do support both Apple HomeKit and Home Key. This is Aqara's first smart lock to support Thread. Now, Thread is a low power, low latency, self-healing mesh wireless protocol. It's optimized for smart home devices. It's similar to other protocols like Zigbee or Z-Wave in many ways, but unlike those, Thread doesn't need a central hub or bridge like an Aqara Hub, for example. Instead, it can connect directly to your smart home hub or ecosystem. In our case, a HomePod, HomePod Mini, or Apple TV for Apple home users. But you could be using a Google Nest Hub or Amazon Echo devices if you're in those ecosystems. You can see here on the box, it supports just about everything, including Matter. And it shows right here that it's built on Thread. It does say that to work with Apple Home, Amazon SmartThings, or Google Home, a Matter compatible hub is required. Again, in my case, I have multiple HomePods and Apple TVs that act as my Matter compatible hubs for Apple Home. You can connect it to an Aqara Hub that has Thread capabilities if you want, like their new M3 Hub. Now, Thread is one of the main pillars of Matter, which is the new smart home standard you may have heard about. Matter aims to make connecting devices easier regardless of which smart home platform you use. So devices like this that support Matter can be connected to Apple Home, Amazon's the Google Home, the Aqara app, or any other smart home ecosystem that supports Matter. Aqara claims the lock will get an average of 6 months of battery life per charge. The keypad holds an IPX5 waterproof rating and an operating temperature range from -0.4 to 150.8 degrees Fahrenheit or -18 to 66 degrees Celsius, making it suitable to withstand severe weather conditions. There are a number of ways to unlock this thing in addition to Home Key, which we'll get into in just a minute. The U200 is specifically designed for European style door locks. So the lock should be great for all my friends across the pond. I know many of you have been waiting for a product like this, so this is exciting. Of course, they can also be used for US deadbolts and locks, like I have. Wide compatibility here with your existing door locks. It is available right now on Amazon in either black or silver. And they did offer a limited oak interchangeable panel during their Kickstarter campaign. So again, that was just a limited time thing. I'm not sure if they'll bring this back in the future in any way. Inside, we have the lock with the thumb turn. Again, this is a retrofit lock, meaning you only need to replace the thumb turn portion of your existing lock. You will not need to replace the front of the lock or the actual deadbolt or anything on the inside like that. Next, we have our matching keypad. Really nice look and feel. It has these nice tactile, rubbery feeling buttons with the little fingerprint scanner at the bottom. The buttons are backlit, so they light up great at night. On the back, there is a large 3M sticky pad that you can use to stick it anywhere you like. The keypad is also where you will tap your NFC cards or iPhone for the home key feature. We have our documentation, a sticky pad for the lock, some extra sticky pad spacers, and an adapter. A little microfiber cloth bag, which is nice. They're calling this a power bank pouch. We have mounting hardware and a small USB-C cable. 4 AA batteries for the keypad, and then the rechargeable battery for the lock. And finally, we have some various adapters that you will use for installation, depending on the style of your lock. And this is everything you get in the box. Again, this is just replacing the inside part of your old lock. So I'm gonna take off that part of my old lock. Everything else you see here on the lock will remain. I'll attach the mounting bracket with the same screws that I just took out of the old lock. Now you'll look for the correct tailpiece adapter for your lock. Now I wanna pause real quick to show you compatibility for various lock types. Again, my lock is a standard US deadbolt, but you can see this is also compatible with Euro profile and select Scandi cylinders. They do say that for these, the cylinder must be equipped with an emergency function, which allows unlocking from outside with a key when another key is inserted inside. And that's because for those style locks, you're actually going to install the Aqara U200 over top of your key on the inside, and the smart lock will actually turn your key when controlling the lock. All right, moving on, I'll need to insert the tailpiece adapter for my lock. So the one that I needed was actually a little too short to use. I discussed this with Aqara and they assured me that they know about this issue, mainly affecting US customers, but by the time this product is released to the public, they will have either another adapter or adjusted this one so that it's more suitable for doors like mine. So I did just use another adapter that worked temporarily until they were able to get that issue worked out. By the time you get this, it shouldn't be an issue. Next, you'll take off the cover, if not already off, and slide the lock onto the mounting bracket. 3 screws to secure the lock. I put in the battery, then plugged it up so I could charge it all the way. Then insert your 4 AA batteries into the keypad so we can set up the lock. And I should note that the keypad can also be wired directly to your existing doorbell instead of using the 4 AA batteries if that's something you want to do. Now there are a few ways that you can set this lock up. You can add it directly to your smart home ecosystem like Apple Home through Matter, and that's actually what I did at first when I first got this lock and installed it. That said, you can add it to the Aqara app first, and that's probably what I would do. That way you can set up fingerprints and configure other settings that you either can't do without the Aqara app or are just a lot harder to do without the Aqara app. So to do that, tap Add New Device in the Aqara app, select the U200 and scan the Aqara code on the lock. You'll go through a little setup and configuration process, very simple and quick. You may be prompted to bind your lock to an Aqara Hub. Now, this is Aqara's first smart lock to support Thread, not Zigbee or Wi-Fi. That means if you do want to bind this to an Aqara Hub, as far as I'm aware, the only one that you can do this with right now is the new M3 Hub, the new Aqara M3 Hub. And that's because the M3 Hub has a built-in Thread radio and can support Thread accessories. Now, connecting to an Aqara Hub is not necessary. Doing this will essentially just allow you to remotely manage the lock, receive notifications, utilize automations and scenes, all that stuff in the Aqara app. Now, if you don't bind it to an Aqara Hub, you just have to be within Bluetooth range of the device to, make any changes or access the lock, again, in the Aqara app. You can connect the lock to any smart home ecosystem through Matter, like, Apple Home, and still control the lock remotely, get notifications, and use it in all your scenes and automations and stuff like that in that smart home ecosystem without pairing it to an Aqara Hub. Either way, you can access all the settings and everything you need in the Aqara app. So let's walk through some of those settings now real quick, and then we'll add it to Apple HomeKit and check it out over there in just a minute. You can see the status of your lock, plus the battery levels of the keypad and the lock here on the main screen. You can create a one-time password. This is a generated password that is valid for 24 hours before it is expired. It is intended for a one-time use. User management is where you will set up your different users. You can create admins with full access, general users that support all types of unlocking methods, and temporary users that support only unlocking with a periodic password. Each user can have up to 5 fingerprints, 2 passwords, and 2 NFC devices. If I create a new general user, you can see we can add fingerprints, passwords, and NFC devices here. Aqara offers these little NFC tags sold separately that you can add to different users if you wish. Temporary users allow you to generate passwords and configure specific schedules for which those passwords can be used. They cannot be used outside of the set schedule. You can even specify beginning and end dates. So this would be great if you're going out of town or something like that and you want to provide access to a dog walker or maybe a neighbor just while you're gone during a set time frame or a date range. In the settings, you can adjust the volume for the different alerts as well as the voice settings. There is a door status sensor option. So this uses a gyroscope inside the lock to determine if your door is open or closed. You can also choose to get alerts if the door is left open for a specific period of time. Now, I've not typically been a huge fan of locks with this feature that don't use an actual door sensor, but I gotta say that this one seemed to be pretty dang reliable. As you can see right here, it knows when the door is open or closed, and it seemed to work pretty well. Auto lock will automatically lock the door when it is detected that it's closed. Now this is a lab feature, which I guess means you should use with caution, or maybe it might not be super reliable. I don't know, but it did seem to work pretty well for me. I guess sometimes it may just lock when you don't want it to or something. You can also turn on general auto lock, which will lock the door after a specific amount of time each time that it's unlocked. Failed attempt lockout lets you determine how long to deactivate the keypad after exceeding 10 incorrect passcode attempts. Now, during a lockout, only keys, Bluetooth, and remote locking are allowed. If you do use the auto lock feature, passage mode is a good additional feature to know about. With this on, you can simply enter 00 on the keypad to disable the auto lock until it's manually locked again. So this is really nice if you do use that auto lock feature, but maybe you're hanging out on the front porch or something like that and you don't want it to auto lock for a while. Maybe you're in and out and stuff like that, to keep it from auto locking until you manually lock it again. At the bottom, you'll see Matter and Aqara Hub. So if you have not already bound your lock to an Aqara Hub and you want to, this is where you would do that. Again, currently, the only Aqara Hub that this lock can be bound to is the new M3 Hub. And then we have a Matter section. Here you can connect the lock to Apple Home, view a Matter pairing code for connecting to other ecosystems, and you can see the different Matter ecosystems that the lock is currently paired to. So this is how I paired my lock to Apple Home. Just tap the connect button. If all goes well, it will successfully add the lock to your Apple Home setup, asking you to rename it and pick a room to put it in. Also, since it's a home key lock, you'll see the prompt for that as well as your access codes. I already have access codes and stuff like that set up in the Apple Home app for me, so I'll see that here. I can also choose to give access to any other guests that I have already configured in my Apple Home app. Once that's all set up, you should see a new home key in your Apple Wallet app on your iPhone. You can change your personal access code here as well as turn on Express Mode. Express Mode is what allows you to unlock the lock with your iPhone without requiring Face ID or a passcode. So basically your phone can be locked and not even lit up, and you can still use it to unlock the U200 with Express Mode on. You can also use your Apple Watch, which is my absolute favorite thing ever. It's so convenient. To use HomeKey, just hold your Apple Watch or iPhone up to this area here on the keypad. Again, if you have Express Mode turned on, you don't have to authenticate with Face ID or anything. It'll just unlock when you hold up your phone or Apple Watch. Any residents in your Apple Home will have access also to use this home key feature. Of course, you can also control the lock in the Apple Home app. You can use Siri on any Siri-enabled device. Lock the back porch. Note that to unlock the door with Siri, you will have to have a device that you can authenticate on, like an iPhone. This is just for security reasons. You can include the lock in your scenes and automations. One of my favorites is my lock down the house scene that locks all of my doors. Super useful at night, before going to bed. As a HomeKit lock, you can get notifications on all of your Apple devices, including the Apple TV, letting you know when the door has been locked or unlocked. It can even tell you who has unlocked the door if the person uses HomeKey or a personal access code. This will also show up in the security activity history section in the Apple Home app. Now, we discussed Apple HomeKey and using Siri to control the lock, but there are a number of other ways to use this lock. Of course, the fingerprint scanner can be extremely useful. This works very well, very fast in my experience. There are also passcodes that you can configure, both for general users and even those temporary users that we talked about. And you can also configure those NFC cards if you would like. You do have to buy these separately. This works very much like the home key feature. Just hold up the NFC tag up to the keypad in the same area to unlock it. This is ideal probably for guests or family members to whom you don't want to grant full access to your smart home. Or maybe you have one of those stubborn Android users in your family. Give them an NFC tag and then they can feel almost as cool as the rest of us using HomeKey on our iPhones. Now, last but not least, you can use your traditional key. Since this is a retrofit lock, there is no need to rekey the lock or swap out keys. It's the same key and lock cylinder that you've always had, which I think is just great. Very, very convenient. I like to have the same key to unlock all my doors, and with a product like this, you don't have to worry about rekeying the lock or using different keys. Now, I did have some ups and downs early in my testing. That sometimes happens when products like this get sent out much earlier than the public release. My two biggest issues were, one, the tailpiece adapter that I mentioned earlier was too short. So that was mentioned in the installation part of this video if you want to check that out again. Aqara has assured me once again that they've updated this and the units that will be shipping to you will be more compatible with US deadbolts like mine, so that shouldn't be an issue for you. And two, I did have some issues connecting the lock to both an Aqara Hub and Apple Home at the same time. I think that's been fixed. There have been some updates to both the lock and the Aqara M3 Hub in the couple of months that I've been testing this. Right now, my U200 is paired successfully with both the Aqara M3 Hub and my Apple HomeKit setup, so everything's working great right now. Like I said earlier, you really don't need to bind it to an Aqara Hub unless you plan to use the Aqara app for, again, like notifications, automations, all that kind of stuff there in the Aqara app. But if you're just using it primarily in Apple Home or another ecosystem, I don't think you really need to bind it to an Aqara Hub, unless you just have one like I do, then you can. The only other issue that I did notice is that the Aqara app gives me an error every time I try to generate a Matter QR code in the Matter section. But again, I added mine to Apple Home using that button in the same section, which worked just fine for me. Plus, the Matter QR code is printed on the back of the lock. So I assume this is something they'll fix in firmware updates, if not already, by the time you're watching this. I think this is one of the better looking retrofit smart locks that I've seen. Here's a little comparison next to the SwitchBot Lock Pro. The U200 is a little bit longer, but definitely slimmer. And I think probably just better looking overall. And it has HomeKey support, which, I'm a fan of. And I really like the keypad. It has a great look and feel. I love the tactile, rubbery buttons that light up at night. The lock has been super fast and responsive for me, whether I'm using the Apple Home app, HomeKey, fingerprints, passcodes, it doesn't matter. It's been great. I think largely because of that thread connection. I'm just really excited about this product from Aqara. If you can't already tell, I love to see thread being utilized in smart locks. I wish more companies did this. Plus, it's the first retrofit lock with support for Apple HomeKey, my favorite feature. Also, it's the first smart lock that supports both HomeKey and Matter over Thread. So a lot of firsts here. All in all, Very solid product. You can pick up this lock right now for $269.99 US. I'll put a link down in the description, as well as a limited time 20% off discount code to save you a little bit of money. Drop a comment below and let me know, what is your favorite must-have feature when shopping for a new smart lock? Is it home key like me? I have a whole playlist featuring reviews of different smart locks, most of which do support Apple HomeKey also. So you can click right over here to check out that playlist. And if you'd like to hear more about that Aqara M3 Hub that we mentioned here today, click this video right over here. And come to join me live this Wednesday and every Wednesday right here on YouTube. We talk about all things Apple and smart home. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.